So President Donald Trump is delivering the State of the Union address tomorrow night, right? That's okay, fairly standard, right? We all know how it's going to go. I don't really know if it's worth watching. To be honest, it's going to be heavily scripted. You think they're going to allow Trump to talk on his own? No, of course not. They're going to have a nice scripted speech about, how everything is going fantastic and everything is tremendous. And look at the massive tax cuts we gave. It's all going to be wonderful, right? Again, fairly standard, right? Now, another thing that's fairly standard is the rebuttal speech. Now, whatever party is not in power is able to give a televised rebuttal speech, and we've seen this before. I think the last time was during the President Obama administration. It was Kathy McMorris Rogers, or you had Joni Ernst. Nobody really remembers these things unless you're, Marco Rubio with like the water. That's the only thing that you remember from the State of the Union rebuttal speech because they're fairly low key, right? Now, of course, this is the Trump era now. And so the Democrats now have a chance to, quote unquote, resist Trump by responding with, you would think, a progressive, hopeful vision, right? I mean, again, the midterms are coming. You would think the Democrats would want to be strong and offer a counter vision to what we've seen from the Trump administration. Now, is that the direction they're going to go? Look, I don't know for sure. I don't want to say 100% sure, but it's kind of looking that way. I think we have learned what we have learned from who is giving the Democratic response is that they're not going to go in that direction. According to NPR, Massachusetts Representative Joe Kennedy III, seen as a rising political star with a famous last name, will deliver the Democratic response to President Trump's State of the Union on Tuesday. Already, I've seen it on Twitter. Establishment Democrats are essentially creaming their pants over a Kennedy. Here we go. Now, top Democratic leaders in Congress made the announcement Thursday evening, calling Kennedy a, quote, relentless fighter for working Americans. I'll get back to that. Nancy Pelosi, U.S. House Minority Leader, said, Congressman Kennedy profoundly understands the challenges facing hardworking men and women across the country. His leadership has been vital in educating next-generation workforce, in creating good-paying manufacturing jobs, and expanding opportunities for the middle class. Well, let's talk about that. So what have we seen from Joe Kennedy? Not a lot. I mean, look, if he has been, great, but I haven't seen any evidence of that. Now, let me tell you why they're actually all excited about Joe Kennedy. They said that Kennedy is the grandson of the late Robert Kennedy, former U.S. Attorney General, New York Senator, who was assassinated in 1968. He's also the great nephew of late Massachusetts Senator Edward Kennedy and the late President John F. Kennedy. So what does this say, right? Name recognition. You see it like, oh, it's got the famous name. Even the NPR article was framing it as, he's got such a famous last name. It's a political dynasty. And we all know the Democrats love political dynasties. This is a conversation that they're having on centrist Twitter right now is, oh my God, look at Joe Kennedy. He should run for president. Look, I don't know Joe Kennedy. I don't know much about him. I don't know much about what he's done because I haven't really seen him do anything. So, look, I looked around, right? I looked into him a bit, and what I found is that you cannot find someone with a lower profile. He's actually been a congressman since 2013. And unless you watched the DNC convention, which I know some of you probably, along with myself, hate-watched it, because of how much they screwed Bernie Sanders out of the nomination, you likely never heard of him. In fact, look, again, the only reason that they picked him, I think, is because of his name. But look, nobody other than centrist Democrats, older people, baby boomers, and some Gen Xers or members of the political and media establishment actually care about Joe Kennedy and his last name, the Kennedy dynasty. It's the same kind of people who cared about the Clinton dynasty. And look, most Americans don't want any more political dynasties. And so that's what we have, right? Now, the Democrats, unfortunately, don't seem to understand. See, again, reading this article and some of the numerous articles that talked about Joe Kennedy III is they think that, the problem was why we didn't win in 2016. The problem, other than, or why we're not winning across the country, and that something that we need for 2020 is we obviously need to have younger leaders. That doesn't have anything to do about corruption or bad name recognition for Hillary Clinton. No. We need younger leaders. We need newer leaders. You know what that basically means? No Bernie Sanders. He's not a leader. He's too old. Here we go with the ageism, right? But here's the thing, right? Being young is not what's important. That's not going to attract millennials. You know what's actually right? Or something that millennials actually want? They want somebody who's on the right side of the issues. Now look, for example, Bernie Sanders. I mentioned him before. He's like super old. But I love him because he's on the right side of most issues. Look, for example, Medicare, LGBT rights, living wage, racial justice, right? And while I don't agree with 100% of everything that he stands for, or he says or does, I should say, he at least, he cares, and he's genuine, and he's actually going to fight for your best interest. That's why I'm in favor of Bernie Sanders. Now, Joe Kennedy, from what we've seen of him, doesn't fight. Or at least he hasn't fought on the right side of the issues. And let me give you a good example. Something that he actually has done is vote against marijuana rights. He's on the wrong side of the drug war. In 2015, Kennedy was one of just 10 House Democrats to vote against a measure to protect medical cannabis patients and providers who were following state laws from being prosecuted by the federal government. And he was also just one of 24 Democrats to vote the same day against a broader measure blocking the Jeff Sessions Justice Department from interfering with all state marijuana laws, including those allowing recreational use. So, on the issue of the drug war, right, which goes to criminal justice reform, which has a big impact on racial justice, right, and states' rights to allow medical marijuana, he has shown himself to be on the wrong side of history with those votes. But he's a Kennedy. He's a Kennedy. He must be so fantastic. No. Look, he's not out there talking about Medicare for all, which he has 60% approval. No. And he's also not on the side of most Americans when it comes to medical marijuana, which polls very, very well. So what is he? Joe Kennedy III is safe. He is a safe option. He is non-controversial, which ironically, I just kind of made him into a bit of a controversial figure. But he's non-controversial, milquetoast, and has got a famous last name. So, what they're going to do is the Democrats are going to trot him out for this State of the Union rebuttal, and they're going to pretend to resist Trump. This is exactly what the Democrats want. Now, the number of average Americans that are excited to see this, I believe, are likely very small. Now, don't get me wrong, it'll probably be a fairly decent speech. Oh, we lead with our values. Trump is bad. It's this and that. We stand for the working people. But do you? No, you don't. None of you do. Look, the Democrats, most Democrats, and of course all the Republicans, are nothing more than corporate apologists who care more about protecting the political and economic establishment than actually helping regular working people. And I cannot stand them. So there's one more thing here. And again, this is from NPR, and it kind of shows you what the goal here is, right? They said, aside from his famous surname, Kennedy is not well known outside Massachusetts, but at least for a few minutes, his role as rebutter-in-chief will make him the face of a Democratic Party hoping to make big gains in midterm elections this year. They want to make him the face. Somebody that has hardly done anything, who's on the wrong side of very important issues, and again, somebody who nobody knows, but has a very famous last name. Let's make him the face of the Democratic Party in the midterms. Let's not look and make the most popular politician in America the face of our movement. No, let's not reference him at all. In fact, let's go against him. Let's go against these popular policies. The Democrats are out of touch. And that's how out of touch they are. Look, the Democratic leadership, the people who make these decisions, they have to go. Pelosi's got to go. Feinstein's got to go. You want new blood? Okay. Well, guess what? There's a host of real progressives out there that are ready to challenge you in the midterms. Expect them. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.